Hello, Thrill Maxxers, and welcome to another episode of Mid-Course Debate. This is the show where we take two coasters and put them head-to-head, and every single episode, I have our awesome co-host, Rocco from FYE Coasters and Thrill Maxx. Rocco, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. Fired up about this debate. This debate's, I think a lot of people are going to at first dismiss it and go, is that really a debate? But listen to the whole thing, guys, because there's two sides to every story. I'm excited about this debate. This time we're going to be talking about Top Thrill Dragster versus Maxx Force. I am going to take the side of Top Thrill Dragster. Rocco is going to take the side of Maxx Force, or try to take the side of Maxx Force. We'll see if he succeeds tonight in that. So with that said, Rocco, let's talk briefly. So Maxx Force, first of all, you're repping the merch.
With the actual track on it.
With the actual track, for those of you who don't know, Great America likes to fool their guests and sometimes
put, in general.
Yeah, you're right, because Nitro, your Nitro shirt doesn't. It's like Titan or something.
Titan.
Not even close to being the right coaster. But and that's first year merch too, so that's really cool. For those of you who don't know, Maxx Force just opened in 2019. Why don't you tell us about it, Rocco?
Well, it's an SNS launch coaster. It is currently the fastest launch in America, second fastest in the world in terms of 0 to desired speed, acceleration, fast acceleration. There you go. And it has launches you. It takes, I think it's like a 22-second ride. And it's got 5 inversions on it. It's a really unique coaster. It's right there, right in the front of the park. So as you're walking in, as you're driving in, you hear this big bang, and that's the sound of the air compressors launching the coaster. And yeah, it's just a really fun ride. It's a really fun ride.
Yeah, and I will agree that it is a fun ride, but I don't know if it's the king. And the other coaster, obviously, we're talking about tonight is Top Thrill Dragster. I'll tell you a little bit about it if you don't know. Top Thrill Dragster is an Intamin hydraulic launch coaster. They call it their accelerator model. It actually reaches 420 feet tall. It was the very first what they call strata coaster, which means the first coaster in the world to be over 400 feet and actually reach over 400 feet. And then I think it was the following year, Six Flags Great Adventure opened up Kingda Ka and took the record from Cedar Point, but Cedar Point was the first. The cool thing about this ride is that you're going to launch 0 to just over 120 miles an hour. You're going to do that in about 4 seconds. And so in terms of speed, it's there. That's why they call it Top Thrill Dragster. The really cool thing about this is you don't get to see it when you're walking into the park like you do Maxx Force all displayed there. But when you look at Top Thrill Dragster anywhere in that park, you see that train iconically cresting that top hat and coming down. And you know, especially if you see it running, you know you're in for a good day. And so we're going to get into this debate. But before we do, we've got 2 sections we're going to break this down into and give our overall thoughts. That's going to be the launch and the elements. And so, Rocco, why don't you talk about the launch on Maxx Force, and why do you think it is superior to Top Thrill?
All right, so let me first say that I love Top Thrill Dragster. It's a must ride every time I go to Cedar Point. Well, most of the time. But why I like, okay, so what I like about the Maxx Force launch is that it's like instantaneous. It's I don't know the word to describe it. It's jarring. It's like it's literal. I mean, the second that thing takes off, I mean, you could feel the breath leave your lungs when it takes that launch. On top of the Dragster, when you take that launch, it's a great launch. Don't get me wrong. The speed on it is incredible. But to me, you build up to that speed. You take off and it's a quick launch, but then you keep building speed and building speed and building speed. On what would you say it goes from 0 to 120 in how many seconds?
About 4 seconds.
4 seconds, okay? So Maxx Force, I was about to say Thrill Maxx.
That's okay. You can shout out Thrill Maxx as much as you want on this show. We allow it.
Maxx Force goes from 0 to 78 miles an hour in what, like 0.7 seconds? All right. Like you hit that speed instantaneously. You don't even get a chance to think about it. Like Dragster, I used to get nervous on that launch, but then you have the countdown and you kind of see everything happening. I still get nervous on Maxx Force, and I've been on it probably like, a good 20, 30 times last season. And I'm still not ready for that because I know what's going to happen. I know the sensation that I'm going to feel, where I just kind of get left breathless. The first time I rode it, it actually scared me because it took my breath away, and I literally gasped for air when it went up right into that that dog tongue turn or inversion. But yeah, it's just an incredible rush. The first few times you ride it, if you're not ready, if you're not used to that sensation, like I kind of grayed out and the first time I rode it with that, with how quickly it went. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it is a more intense launch because it's so sudden and it just hits you. It hits you like a brick wall, where I feel like Dragster, it's a very, very intense launch. I'm not saying it isn't because you go from 0 to 120 miles per hour, but you feel the gradual speed up to it. You know what I mean? It's not,
yeah.
It doesn't hit you boom like that,
See, but that's what I like. You're right. I will say that everything you just said about Maxx Force is correct. You get to top speed incredibly fast. But here's my downside to it. With Top Thrill, you start accelerating and you feel the entire way. You feel those G's pushing you back. You feel the speed increasing. Even just sitting there, I am way more intimidated sitting on the launch pad, ready to go on Top Thrill than I am on Maxx Force. I look up and I'm like, oh man, we're going to go. I'm going to kiss the sky 420 feet high, and the launch on Maxx Force is so fast. Before I can process the feeling, the exhilaration that I just got from launching that fast, it's over. So I don't have time to process that. I don't have time to enjoy that, to savor that, right? It's like if I get a steak at a restaurant, okay, and it's cooked by Gordon Ramsay himself, I want to savor that, okay, for just a moment in time. You don't get that. The other thing is when you leave the launch pads, okay, when you're completely at top speed, immediately on Maxx Force, you feel the speed die.
Yeah.
I mean, die. It's incredibly noticeable. On Top Thrill Dragster, I do not get that as well, at least not as sudden of a drop off in speed because you immediately start to pitch up. And of course, you're like, I'm going to lose speed, right? But you feel, at least for the good half, 3/4 of the way up that tower, you are hauling up that tower. It's not until the very top where you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I have a moment to, what just happened? I have a moment to process that before, things get real again. And so for me, I always prefer a launch on Top Thrill. I always prefer the hydraulic launches for that reason. I don't think Maxx Force I don't think it lives up to the hype of it being the fastest accelerating coaster in North America. I just don't. I get on it and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, we went really fast, but then we killed that speed instantly, and I didn't even get to feel it really.
And what I like, and I agree with you that definitely the second you leave that, launch, it decelerates. But what I like about it is that it makes it more of a separate element. Like you get the launch, and then it's the launch, and then now you have the rest of the ride. Do you know what I mean? Where I feel in Dragster, you do keep that speed. You gradually go up to 120 miles per hour, and then you gradually come back from 120 miles an hour. You know what I mean? And it's more so. I feel like the launch on Dragster is meant to get you up to 420 feet high. It's not meant to be. It's not an element. It's the motion device to get you up there. Do you know what I mean?
No,
it's chainlet. Where Maxx Force, the launch is a element, like boom, and then you go into the roller coaster of it.
I feel you with that. I do think the launch on Top Thrill is highlighted more as an element because you have the countdown, the two trains come out together, you wait, you see the train in front of you launch up there and you're looking up to it saying, oh man, the GP's like, I hope it doesn't roll back and hit us, and just seeing that is incredible. And it even they have the bleachers. The risers, that are sitting off to the side, the bleachers, and people can watch that launch and they celebrate that launch. Maxx Force, you don't get any of that. You slowly roll out of the station, you click onto it, you're looking at just concrete in front of you. Yeah. Okay. And because you go under a tunnel, and that tunnel is just nothing but concrete. It's not decorated, there's no theming, there's nothing. So I look at it and go, you don't even celebrate this this record breaker. Now the other thing, and I think that this really does play into the feeling of the launch, and that is the seats and the restraints.
Yeah.
Although the lap bars on both, I think, are comparable in terms of comfort. I think both of them are comfortable. I'd even give the edge slightly to Maxx Force. What kills it for me is the backs of the seat. For those of you who don't know, Maxx Force has this little bump thing, okay? And it's right here on your back, okay? So when you launch and you get pushed back, there is a bump thing that is pushing against your back. And it doesn't feel great at all. Whereas Intamin doesn't have any of that. And you're sitting in, kind of bucket seats that wrap around you and they're kind of giving you a nice warm hug as you're on this ride. And so the launch to me also feels, because for a second you launch and all I can think about on Maxx Force is, and before I can even process what that is, we're done and we're going up, So for me, I think that's important. Does that play a factor for you at all?
I never feel it at all. I didn't notice that there was those bumps on there until you pointed out, to be quite honest, when we went. And they never, maybe it's where it lies on my body that it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean?
Sure. I know my brother's about the same height. He had the same problem. And it's a shame because I love the actual restraint itself. I love what SNS has done. I just give the edge slightly. Okay, and then the other thing is just the overall look of the car. I mean, this isn't even the launch, but let's just the overall look of the cars. Maxx Force looks like a cheap Tonka car that you could buy, like a Hot Wheels car, and it's
based off of a Formula One race car, and then
which is based off. Which is it looks like it looks like a bad copycat of Dragster. Okay,
I don't think so.
I love the front of Dragster's trains. You know that it looks like a bottlenose dolphin. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, they
and
have great trains. Yeah, they do.
oh,
I
I
wish
love
they
it.
didn't take off the fenders on them, because that's what really made those trains look awesome.
That's true. I guess for me, I think that the trains look weird to me on Maxx Force. Just the wheel, it just there's something about it, and there's a lot of decals. I've seen them up close, and the wheels. If you look at the inside of the wheels where the rims are supposed to be,
Yeah.
that's just a sticker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And just like little things like that is like it looks plastic to me. You know, it's
Mhm.
like you get on Dragster and you're like, I feel like I'm gonna take this big hunk of steel down this
Yeah.
track, you know, and I love that. So moving on from the launch, the next thing to talk about, and I'm at a huge disadvantage on this one. So I'm gonna let you go first because the only way that I can make an argument on this is if I go second, and that is the elements, right? Like clearly you have this one in the bag in terms of number, but why don't you run through the elements, talk about your favorites, talk about why you think the elements are better on Maxx Force as compared to Top Zero.
Right after launch, you go into I think it's the only element of its kind, a dog tongue inversion, where it kind of goes, kind of does like an Immelman type thing, right? And then kind of flips, it kind of goes into a loop, and then it kind of does a non-inverting loop type thing, but instead of it keeping like the same direction of the loop, it kind of turns and then comes back down. So it kind of creates this dog kind of look to it.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen this, essentially it looks like if you took a Cobra roll and a banana roll, and those two got jiggy with it and had a baby, the dog tongue is what it would be.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes into it and out of it the same way that essentially a Cobra roll would do.
Mm-hmm.
But the top of it is like a banana roll where you kick out, but not as much as a Cobra roll. And then you kind of level up. You're kind of 90 degrees up there for a second.
Yeah, it kind of makes like this kind of, and then you come down out of it, and then you go into the best element because it's so fast and it's so cool. You get thrown out of your seat of it. Is their barrel roll, and is its barrel roll. I remember the first time I went on it, I had my hands up, and it just throws you out of your seat. And you just get flung out of it, and then you get whipped back into your seat, and then you go into this dive loop that this is the and I will say this because I've been on Full Throttle at Magic Mountain. That if you're not familiar with that ride, its second launches you into this top hat over its loop. But when you come out of the top hat, that's where the brakes are, and it hurts so bad. It's so jarring. Like it completely ruined the ride for me. And when I saw that Maxx Force was going to have the same kind of brake system, where it was coming like out of like this inversion and down this, I was really nervous that it was going to feel the same way. But I gotta say, they do a really good job. It's still kind of jarring, but they do a really good job of gradually slowing you down and using that last bit of straight track into the station to completely stop you. So I'll say that it's a way better brake system than on Full Throttle. And then so then you go out, you come out of the barrel, you go into that dive loop inversion into the brakes, and then it's over. And I think it's like 22 seconds long. It to me it takes the launch coaster to a different, to like, I don't know, to a next level, where it's not about, like, the thing you gotta understand about Maxx Force, it was meant to be a short ride. It was meant to be a short, quick, small footprint ride that you can put a ton of elements in all at once, and I think it completely delivers on what it was meant to do. I agree. And I don't think it's meant to compete how we're making it compete with Dragster, or with other, launch coasters. I think it's meant to be its own thing. And what's cool about it is that it really is it's a one of a kind ride. It's, you know, and it's cool that it's here at Six Flags and that, you know, this is the only place you can experience this ride currently.
For now,
right.
it appears to show every sign of being highly clonable.
Oh yeah, but I don't think by Six Flags anymore because I don't think they're working with SNS anymore.
I've heard those rumors too, but you can't deny this. That could be easily duplicated at other parks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Here's my thing about elements, and I'm at a disadvantage, but to me, Maxx Force elements, they pack so many at a time, and it is just boom, 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 boom. For me, I can't, again, enjoy it. By the time I get done with the ride, I'm thinking, what just happened, right? For Dragster, there's less elements, and I like that because for me, I can focus on each element. I can experience each element for what they are, and I know, okay, this is going to come, and I know what to expect. Maxx Force, you don't get all of that. It's too much. I feel like they threw too much at us. And the three elements that I would argue that Top Thrill Dragster has is first, the launch. Second, I would say the top of the top hat is its own element because that element, you get one type of airtime. You get that. Not if you get enough speed up there, you can get some real nice pops of just floater airtime for a second up there. And then I would argue that the spiral down is its own element because especially if you're in the back row, but this happens on every row, but the back row especially, you get that nice floater airtime, and then you get that nice sideways airtime because it just slams you to the side all the way down. And by the time you get done with it, you're thinking, I was just up there. I was just up 420 feet tall, and I got to experience those three different elements for what they are. I could say, okay, here's the launch, boom, and then we get done with the launch, and then I'm like, okay, the next element is going to be this airtime. Okay, get ready for this. And then, okay, now we're floating out of our seats. Get ready. Now that's sideways, and you don't get that with Maxx Force. And so because of that, and I think the other thing is that Maxx Force, it's themed to a little IndyCar. You would think that it would be hauling the entire way from start to finish, but there is a lot of moments where you're almost stalling through elements. When you go through the dog tongue, it's very slow at the top of there. When you go through the dive loop at the end, it's very slow.
Okay,
and I get that. I get that, but I'm saying to fit the theme of an IndyCar never slows down like that on the track. Okay, and half the time you're on Maxx Force, it's slowing down like that on the track. Whereas what's that?
I don't think so. I think that's the only slow part.
Those two, but so the top of the dog tongue, which is the biggest element,
and
then at the end when you come out, you come through the 0G roll, and then you go up into another 0G roll, and then you keep rotating to get into that dive loop.
Yeah, and that's the brakes.
Right, but halfway through that 0G roll,
it zooms up that hill. It zooms up there. Next time you look at that, it goes fast.
But I feel like it starts dying halfway through getting up there, and then you get up there, and it's like, okay, I'm getting the hang time, but it's like, in terms of overall themes, Dragster goes faster for way more. You only get that brief moment of pop, and then it's back into it. Whereas Maxx Force, you get several moments where you're like, okay, and here we go, and it's the brakes.
But okay, you literally just made the argument that there's too many elements on Maxx Force, and it goes too fast for you to appreciate them. And then but now you're saying it has so many moments where you're just flowing and where you can enjoy the element that you're in.
Yes, because on top of
what is it?
No, it's both. It's exactly what I said. It's throwing too much at you. They throw this launch you can't even comprehend. To me, the throwaway element in the sense that you could have done the same thing and it could have been a 3-second launch, right? And I probably would have liked it more. So the whole getting up to speed that quick, I think that's the only reason they did that is because they didn't have the space for a long launch track. If they would have had a long launch track, I would make the argument they would have went for, an LSM or a hydraulic launch, probably an LSM launch, but they probably would not have gone the route they went. Now, with that said, they do throw too much at you. Not only do you have 5 inversions that I'm trying to, enjoy, but then I have a launch that I'm trying to enjoy. Now I have 2 or 3 moments of hang time that I'm trying to enjoy, and it's getting thrown at me in less than 25 seconds, in like 22, 24 seconds. It's like, boom. And for me, it's like, I couldn't enjoy that as much as I wanted to, as much as, you look at something like Maverick as a launch coaster.
Ride it again to enjoy it, to see those elements again.
What do you mean?
Like, think about it. Like, I think that's a great thing that it throws so much at you because you want to keep rewriting it to go through those elements again.
But then I'm upset every single time that I write it because I'm like, man, I that was great. I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish I had more time to savor this. I wish I had. I wish.
But again, it wasn't built to be that. It was built to be something quick, with a lot of elements, and to kind of like make you say, "What was that?"
Sure, that's exactly why it was built. But in my opinion, that doesn't make it better just because that's the reason it was built. That is the reason, and they accomplished that. It's a good launch coaster. It's a really fun launch coaster. I'm not saying it's not, but when I look at which is better, do I prefer something that's like, a gunslinger, bang, 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 or do I appreciate, a longer game, a better experience, in my opinion? I always go top Thrill Dragster. I just think that it only focuses on a couple elements and it does them to perfection.
Oh, I agree.
I don't know if I would say that about Maxx Force. They have a lot of elements, but there's a lot of flaws in those elements.
I guess what I'm saying is that I feel that, to me, Maxx Force is more intense because it's so quick and I don't get to savor those things. You know what I mean? Like, that's why that's why I love I-305. That's why it's my favorite roller coaster in the world, because I've ridden it like 20 something times and I still am surprised every time I ride it. But that's why I love it, is because it's always a surprise to me every time I ride it, even though I know its layout and everything, Yeah,
but that's also, you're comparing apples to oranges there, because it's a much bigger layout. That's a much better layout. You can focus on the different elements. You're making my argument.
What I'm saying is that you can't focus on the different elements on I-305. Is that it goes so fast that half the time you're trying to stop yourself from blacking out on the.
Okay, maybe if you're going turn by turn, but for me, it would be, okay, first drop.
Have you been on it?
Long first drop. First turn, I could focus on that first turn. Now we're going to go all that Maverick turns. Okay, now I'm going to go into the Maverick turns now, and it's like you can dissect the different elements like that. And
you can dissect the different elements on Maxx Force.
You don't have time to.
You just said we did have time because there's so much dead time on it.
No, that was I-305 is what I'm saying.
No, you were saying, you said all the slow parts of Maxx Force. When you go into the
there's 2 slow parts.
Whoa. You were saying there were like a bunch of slow parts. And then when I was trying to make the argument, like, okay, come on.
No, the top of the dog tongue, through the dog tongue, immediately as soon as you leave that, the launch pad, you immediately start losing speed, and up in that dog tongue, you're barely getting through it. And then I said, at the end, when you're going through that 0G up to that dive loop, halfway through there, I feel like, okay, we've lost the speed. We're here.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you can easily feel every element on Maxx Force. Easily. You go into the
okay, I'm not going to say you can't feel it, but can you comprehend it as fast as you can? I don't think so.
You go into the dog loop, or the dog inversion. You come down it, then you go into a turn before you even go into the heartline roll. Then you go into the heartline roll, then you go up, and the ride's over.
Yeah, but even the heartline roll happens so quick. I'm like, whoa, what just happened?
Okay.
No, I'm serious. Like it
Come
to
on.
me, it doesn't feel like when you hear fastest inversion in the world. To me, I mean, I'd rather have gone on Maverick's Heartline roll they removed than Maxx Forces. You know, it's like just because something says it's the fastest thing or whatever doesn't mean it's the most forceful thing. That is such a drawn out barrel roll that
Okay,
yes,
so
you
you
hit it at
just said
60
it's
miles an
drawn
hour, but
out. Okay, if it's drawn out, then you can appreciate it. Then you have time to appreciate it. If
no,
something's
because you're
drawn
going
out,
through it so
if
quick.
something's
Just
drawn out, yeah,
no,
you just said, but you were making
no,
an argument
but
with Top Thrill that it's drawn out, that you feel that
no.
you're able to appreciate all the elements because they're drawn out.
But you can't. But yes, it's drawn out, but you're still going through it at 60 miles an hour. So what I'm saying is, you still go through it incredibly quick. So I
It's
can't
not drawn out.
comprehend it. But I can't comprehend it other than I didn't feel.
All right, so
I
it's
didn't
drawn out
feel
or
it.
it's not drawn out.
I think it's drawn out. You just go through it quick.
Oh my gosh, that's that conflicts. That
No.
oxymoron.
Okay. We'll leave it up to these guys in the comments. What do you think? Am I conflicting myself? I think I make perfect sense with that, but you know, not sure. But you know, I don't think after talking, you know, through this, I get it. Maxx Force is, you know, it's a good launch coaster. I don't think it's better than Thrill Dragster. I prefer Thrill Dragster style. I prefer, you know, Accelerator at Knott's Farm style. Those are the kind of launch coasters. I think those just focus on a couple of elements, do them really well, make me want to get back in line. I see no reason to wait an hour for Maxx Force. I will wait an hour for Top Thrill. And so, you know, I don't think that's ever going to change. And I don't think for you, you know, I don't think I'm ever going to convince you that Top Thrill is a better launch coaster than Maxx Force. And that's okay. But we want to hear from you guys, right? What side do you take? Do you prefer launch coasters that only have a couple of things, or do you prefer the Maxx Force style of like a buffet, just throw everything at you and be just crazy from start to finish? Comment down below, whose side do you take? And then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, we're gonna be doing another episode soon. I'm gonna give a sneak peek. Okay, Rocco, should I do it? I should do it, right? I should do it, right? Okay. If you guys have stuck in this long, we're at like 30 minutes or so. Okay, you guys deserve this. The next episode is gonna be about. And then now we're gonna get why isn't Banshee and Montu on there and all that stuff. We're gonna do those two, and there's a reason we're doing those two kids. So we'll talk to you guys later. Rocco, it was awesome to have you on tonight.
Oh, it's awesome to be here.
Cool. We'll talk to you guys later, okay? Stick around. Remember, take your thrills to the max because this is Thrill Maxx.